Whenever Robert Kirkman's Invincible pops up in a conversation, your mind probably jumps straight to the brutal superhero showdowns, the insane Viltrumite brawls, and the sheer amount of blood just flying everywhere. And honestly, fair enough. With so many superheroes and supervillains punching their way through the series, it is easy to forget that some of the deadliest tools of destruction aren't just fists, they are weapons. And when I say weapons, I am also talking about superheroes who received their powers only because of the grotesque government's experiments that turned them into living weapons. Whatever their origin might be, some of these weapons are seriously overpowered to a point they can level cities and even pierce through the toughest Viltrumite skin. But since the show and comics are packed with so many superpowered beings, we often tend to overlook just how terrifying they really are. So, for a change, let's take a step back from the superhuman carnage for a moment and shine a spotlight on the deadliest, strongest, and most game-changing weapons in the Invincible saga. Without wasting another moment, let's get right to it. But before we go into our explanation, we have a very small request. If you like our content, please support us by subscribing to our channel. This is a small click for you, but for us, it means a lot. Thank you. Let's begin. Tech Jacket. Zach Thompson would be nothing but an ordinary school kid without his tech jacket. So, there is an alien race called the Geldarians, who are incredibly intelligent, yet physically weak and fragile beings. To compensate for their frailty, this alien species invented the tech jacket, which was a vest that every Geldarian is equipped with upon birth. Now, keep in mind that a fully developed tech jacket is considered to be one of the most powerful weapons in the universe. One day, high school student Zach Thompson stumbles upon Kelda, a dying Geldarian with his own tech jacket that was appointed to him by birth. After noticing that Zach was trying to help him, Kelda realized that he could not warn the human away from his crashed spaceship, which was going to self-destruct and kill them both. And so, the alien selflessly ordered his tech jacket to separate from his body and bind itself to Zach, thus saving his life. Now the issue was that this tech jacket could not be removed, but it also gave Zach one of the most powerful weapons in the universe. Following this whole incident, Zach saves his father from some thugs and tells him about the crashed spaceship and dying alien. Just as he was reeling from his new identity, eventually the Geldarians show up, thinking that Zach killed Kelda and stole the tech jacket. But then Zach helped the Geldarians fight the crash, which momentarily calmed them down. Later, when they found out the truth of what actually transpired on Earth from Kelda's former tech jacket, the Geldarians requested Zach's help in defeating the Kresh, with whom they have been fighting a prolonged war, and in exchange they promised him proper training in the use of the tech jacket. Eventually, after helping take down the Kresh's major stronghold, the Geldarians released Zach from any further obligations so he could return home, only asking that he use their technology wisely. So, that is how Zach Thompson became a superhero, by harnessing the power of the strongest weapon in the universe. Zach's suit was later upgraded by the Colossal, making him far more powerful than before, and because of that, he could shoot powerful beams of energy, which were lethal enough to blow a hole through a Viltrumite's chest. Zach's tech jacket also allows him to fly and travel through space at incredible speeds. The suit also enhances his durability, because immediately after he got it, Zach survived the explosion of a starship with no injury. Not just that, the jacket also makes him completely bulletproof and allows him to survive blows from Viltrumites. The tech jacket can also morph to create additional weapons and defenses, while generating defensive energy shields. Zach possesses strength far beyond human levels, while the tech jacket is active, originally making him roughly 100 times stronger than the average person. Since Geldarians are much weaker than humans, Zach's tech jacket is much stronger than most, enabling him to perform incredible feats like effortlessly ripping armored Kresh soldiers to pieces, pushing a battleship to crush another, or throwing a starship into the sun. He has also been able to make alternate versions of Invincible and Viltrumites bleed with the power of his blows. Many do not know this, but each night, the jacket automatically removes and destroys all germs, bacteria, and dirt from the user's body, removing the need to bathe. As an adult, Zach discovered it was also keeping him clean-shaven. As he received it as an adolescent, he never saw himself grow any facial hair, and simply came to believe that he simply couldn't. Infinity Ray. Although he has only had a brief appearance in the Invincible Prime video series so far, Space Racer is already one of the show's strongest characters. Space Racer has only appeared in a flashback in Invincible Season 2, with Mark and Alan the alien discovering who he is through one of Nolan's books. Even though he is one of the few characters capable of killing a Viltrumite in the Invincible universe, it actually isn't due to his powers. Instead, Space Racer is able to wield the most powerful weapon in the Invincible universe, which is known as the Infinity Ray. The Infinity Ray is able to shoot indestructible blasts that are capable of tearing through anything in the universe. This includes Viltrumites, meaning that Space Racer is capable of killing them in a single blow. However, Space Racer is the only one who can fire the Infinity Ray, making him just as invaluable as the gun he wields. Just like Thor's hammer, if anyone tries to take or use the Infinity Ray, the gun would fly right back into Space Racer's hands. Space Racer usually flies on a hoverbike as well, hence his name. Over 100 years ago, Nolan Grayson apparently fought Space Racer in an asteroid belt and buried him under a pile of rocks, which prompted Space Racer to drop his gun. Nolan then left the gun where it was, so it would not fly back to Space Racer, and give him a chance to escape by blasting his way out. Later, after he betrayed the Viltrumites and allied himself with the Coalition, Nolan and Alan recruited Space Racer to fight alongside them in the Viltrumite War. Whatever it is, the Infinity Ray is Space Racer's signature weapon for a reason. It is known to be more powerful than most planetary weapons, and can destroy entire armies and even suns. Besides the Ragnars, Space Racer's Infinity Ray is possibly the only weapon known to deal such fatal damage to the Viltrumites. Adam Eve. Now you might think, how does Eve even belong to this list? But the result of her being one of the most powerful superheroes in the Invincible saga is actually because of a brutal experiment run by the GDA. Samantha Eve Wilkins was born with incredible powers, but they were unstable from the start. Following in line with the comics, the Invincible show also explored how Adam Eve was created in a lab through experiments led by Dr. Brandyworth. He basically found a homeless pregnant woman named Polly and offered to pay her to participate in an experimental procedure run by the Pentagon's Department of Superhuman Research. The program's leader, Erickson, wanted to create a superhuman weapon that had the power to alter reality, and it became Brandyworth's responsibility to make that possible in order to try and create more superpowered babies. The process to create Adam Eve basically involved her biological mother going to the lab to take part in experiments where Brandyworth manipulated her amniotic fluid to induce controlled mutational change. This included flooding her system with rapidly decaying particles. While Polly was already pregnant before the experiments and conceived her baby naturally, the process of turning Adam Eve into a superpowered child came from the lab. The experiments were a success, as Polly began to have pink light flash out of her eyes and mouth when it came time to give birth. But in the comics, Eve's biological mother sadly did not survive the birth. Now, while Eve was always a smart kid growing up, it was not until she got a bit older that her transfiguration powers manifested. The first time that Adam Eve used her powers came when she was just 12 years old. She uses them initially after her dad calls her a freak and goes to her room, where she unconsciously turns her science book into glass by using her powers to alter reality on an atomic level. This naturally propels her to test what else she can use her powers on, such as turning a sandwich into a burger or changing the flavor of gum. However, she was not able to alter any organic matter. Another big surprise for Adam Eve's origin in Invincible comes through the reveal that Polly did not actually die the night Adam Eve was born, and was instead used by Erickson and the Pentagon to continue experimenting on making more superhuman children. While Polly was not saved before she suffered serious brain damage, the organization continued to use her body to be a surrogate for more children. Sadly, none of them were as successful as Brandyworth's experiments to give Eve her powers, leading to the children growing up to hate Adam Eve and attacking her. But in addition to fighting her secret siblings and watching them die in various ways, Eve also witnessed the deaths of Brandyworth and Polly, as both of them were shot and killed by Erickson during the final confrontation, even if neither was entirely intentional. So, the trauma caused by watching Brandyworth and Polly die allowed Adam Eve to bypass the mental blocks put in place by Brandyworth, where she could not harm any living things. If Brandyworth had not made sure Eve was adopted, she would probably end up being a trained weapon for the GDA instead of having some chance at a normal childhood. Even then, Before she met Mark Grayson, Eve had an awful life, and even if she was the lab experiment who got a chance at a good life, her adoptive parents never made it easy for her.
Let's go.
Rexplode. Like many of the superheroes in the world of Invincible, Rexplode is a well-established hero since the beginning of the series, but he did not necessarily have a good childhood. Rather, his origin story is actually horrifying. Apparently, Rex's parents sold him to the government for a cheap price, with him then being experimented on while he grew up in the care of the government, most likely under the supervision of the GDA. In the comics, the former GDA director Radcliffe arrived at Rex's home with a suitcase full of cash, making an offer that Rex's father couldn't refuse. Without hesitation, Rex's father agreed, and just like that, Rex was handed over to his new guardian. From that moment on, Rex's life changed completely. Every day, he trained relentlessly in acrobatics and combat, pushing his body to the limit. He also received regular injections designed to enhance his abilities, all in preparation for a life-changing surgery that would grant him his powers. The procedure was a success, and afterward, a robot explained exactly how his new abilities worked. With Rex fully equipped and turned into a living weapon for government use, Radcliffe wasted no time putting him to work. He began sending him on dangerous but morally questionable missions like stealing, assassinating, and setting fires, all to serve his own twisted agenda. Eventually, Rex went on to stop working for Radcliffe, killed him accidentally, and then with Eve's help, he evolved into his superhero career within the Teen Team and the Guardians of the Globe. Rex never knew a family or real love, and so, he always identified himself initially as a government weapon and then as a superhero. That is probably why he sacrificed his life to save his peers during the Invincible War and went out in all his Rexploding glory.
It's better sometimes.
Reanimen. So, the Reanimen are corpses of human beings that were collected by a scientist named D.A. Sinclair and enhanced beyond human means. Sinclair's vision was that Reanimen could be used as soldiers and save the lives of foot soldiers. They are basically former humans, altered by Sinclair into mechanical, zombie-like creatures who are created through surgery and controlled by mind control. In the Prime Video series, the first Reanimen was a drunken student known as Doug Cheston, who was captured by Sinclair and transformed into a monstrosity. The Reanimen version of Doug fought Invincible and nearly won until he knocked his helmet off, revealing his true face. Horrified by what he had become, the cyborg killed himself in a depressive madness. 3 more, including Rick, William's ex-boyfriend, were used to kidnap William to convert him into another Reanimen, but Invincible fought all 3, which nearly killed him, until William was able to help Rick break free of Sinclair's control and defeated the other 2. All 3 were then taken away by Cecil and the GDA in the hopes of removing their alterations. Now, while he was in the custody of the GDA, Sinclair created 3 additional Reanimen. According to Cecil, they were dead soldiers serving their country one last time. Their technology was even capable of holding Omni-Man at bay, as it had previously been able to match Invincible's strength. All 3 Reanimen fought against Omni-Man, managing to stand their ground for a while. However, Omni-Man soon made short work of them, punching one's head clean off, crushing the second's skull, and ripping the third in half before shoving a probe into its ripped open organs, much to everyone in the GDA's disgust, and to Sinclair's frustration at his creation's destruction. But after Omni-Man left Earth, Cecil had Sinclair work on creating thousands of upgraded Reanimen as a Viltrumite countermeasure. Now, nobody knew of Cecil's schemes, and how he used his enemies to his own benefit. Eventually, during the conflict with Doc Seismic, when all the heroes were abducted and captured by the old villain, Cecil had no choice but to send the Reanimen, along with Darkwing 2, to assist the Guardians of the Globe in defeating Doc Seismic and his army. This really ticked off Invincible, as he finally realized how the GDA worked to their own benefit and only cared to fulfill their own agendas. After Invincible confronted Cecil, he unleashed all his Reanimen on Mark, and well, that was the beginning of their fallout. But then, during the Invincible War, the Reanimen took part in the battle when 18 evil variants of Invincible attacked the planet on Angstrom Levy's orders. During the war, these Reanimen were able to kill several of these evil variants. We even saw them kill Flaxen Invincible and viciously pummel his corpse. On the second day of the Invincible War, various Reanimen were teleported to the location of Adam, Eve, and Invincible in an effort to attack Omni-Invincible and Veil Invincible, allowing the Global Defense Agency to transport the former to a hospital. The Reanimen would later go on to kill the bulletproof Invincible. Following the end of the Invincible War, several of these alternate Invincible corpses would later be collected by the GDA and taken to the lab, where Sinclair would convert them into Invincible Reanimen. Since Reanimen are naturally strong from the technology built into them, the Invincible Reanimen would be much stronger since they are built over superhuman bodies, thus making them a crazy powerful weapon in the GDA's roster. While the list of iconic weapons in the Invincible lore is rather short, it certainly does not mean they should be underestimated by any means possible. But what do you guys think about them? Did I miss out on anyone by any chance? Let us know your thoughts and theories in the comment box below.